I have reached my breaking point. Over the last couple of weeks, I have implemented quite a few functionalities into my game, but look at the state of my user interface. There's close to no space in the screen for new stuff. So, I'm sorry my beautiful creation, but it's time to let you go. No! Oof. That was hard. Hey everyone, I am creating a virtual tabletop to play Dungeons & Dragons with a first-person perspective, like a Roll20 meets Skyrim. And as was seen by that heartfelt moment, the meta for this devlog is to create a brand new UI for my map creator, in order for me to be able to interact with every functionality of that map creator. So, I booted up Photoshop, dusted off my pen tablet, and got to planning. Here are the main components I need in my UI. I decided to divide the UI in different windows, and these are the four that I would need for now: an Objects tab, a Terrain tab, a Player View tab, and a Save tab. By clicking on each, a new UI element would appear, with all the necessary stuff to use that functionality. With the plan done, I got to work. First of all, bye-bye old UI. Hello new UI. I started by creating the toolbox on the side. First I created a rectangle, then added a button. Made that button stylish, did the same for 3 more buttons, and there you go, toolbox done. I even added some colors to make it look super pretty. On to each individual window. The function would be very simple. Clicking on the button of the sidebar would make that window visible and the others invisible. What a simple and easy functionality to implement. So, first I did the objects window, I added a button to load a new object, added a scrolling list to be filled with the objects in the created map, a place to show the transform information of the selected object, basically what I had before, but neatly packed inside its own space. Now to the new stuff, the terrain window. I transitioned the input field to set the terrain size to here, added a section to select how we want to edit the terrain, by deforming or painting, along with brush customization, thanks to these 2 beautiful sliders here. Then, depending on what type of edit option you choose, 2 different windows would appear to change some settings. This was the one for the deform option, and this the one for the paint option. To finalize the visuals of the UI, I quickly did a new window with buttons to either save or load the map. And now, with the visuals of the UI done, began the work of scripting the functionalities related to the UI. And I'm not joking, this was probably one of the most lengthy processes I have had in this project so far. An example would be that I needed to script the functionality of showing and hiding each window. So every element you saw in the UI had some function related to it in some script somewhere. And while it was a very boring and lengthy process, it was very worth it to reach this point. The Objects UI is working as intended. This was the easiest because I already have every function coded and working already. But let's just ignore the sliding list for now. The Terrain UI is also working, and I can now customize everything from the game itself to create incredible terrain. And let me quickly introduce you to this part of the UI that is related to the player view. Basically, you click this button here, and this light from God appears. This is for you to see and select the place on which to spawn the player. Much better than before. And finally, the save UI works, even if I had to do a ton of fixes to the terrain save script. And so, as a final look at the UI working flawlessly, here is the making of last devlog's show off map. For the terrain, I start by setting the size of the map, then throw together some hills, and after that I painted the top of the hills. Then it was time to populate the map with some objects, so I went and loaded in and placed the 3D models for these objects. And now that the map was done, I simply saved it, and finally I can load it back up, all using the UI I created. And I can now say, it was very boring work for some extremely satisfying results. It really is a great feeling to be able to do everything from the runtime version of the game, without the need to come into the Unity editor to change some values in the scripts. And if you're enjoying the video so far, consider leaving a like and subscribing, so you don't miss any developments. With the base UI out of the way, I wanted to do something. I wanted to load the game with the big collection of textures that I talked in last devlog, and that's exactly what I got to doing. I talked to a couple of friends about it and got together a list of textures that would allow for most of the terrain types that the DM would need. And here is that list. And so began my search for free online materials for each of them. In order to do this, I mostly used the Ambient CG website, found materials for each of the textures in the list, and then manually inside the Unity project I created materials materials out of the images downloaded from this website. Honestly, it was very simple work. You simply create a material and then drag and drop the images into their specific spaces. And that once again took some time. And now, get used to this. Since the list of materials was so big, I needed to add a new element to my UI. So I created the materials window. Basically, a window full of buttons that change the active texture to use. And look at this quick experiment I did. I can now add these materials to the imported objects. And this is also implemented into the terrain. So every material you see here can be used to paint the terrain. I feel this is all coming together very nicely, but we'll continue its development on the next devlog. Of this, the Metas project.